Once again, welcome you to this final session of module, The Science of Happiness. We are going to discuss a lesser known yet powerful concept that is cognitive reserve and how nurturing our brain health supports emotional well being, resilience, and long term happiness. The definition of cognitive reserve goes on like this. Cognitive reserve is the brain's ability to improvise and find alternate ways of doing tasks. It allows some people to maintain mental functions despite age or disease. Cognitive reserve refers to the brain's ability to adapt and compensate for damage, aging, or neurological diseases. Explains why some individuals with significant brain pathology, such as Alzheimer's disease, show fewer cognitive symptoms than others with similar levels of damage. Now, think of cognitive reserve as the brain's flexibility and resilience, like a well trained athlete who can just adjust their movements to avoid injury. It allows the brain to find alternative neural pathways to maintain function even when primary pathways are compromised. The idea of cognitive reserve emerged in the late 1980s when researchers noticed that some elderly individuals had advanced Alzheimer's pathology but showed no signs of dementia while alive. Their brains had developed compensatory mechanisms to offset the damage. The factors that build cognitive reserve are not fixed. It can be strengthened throughout life. The key contributors include education and lifelong learning, occupational complexity, social engagement, mental stimulation, physical exercise, and healthy lifestyle. The education and lifelong learning includes higher levels of education correlate with greater cognitive reserve. Occupational complexity includes jobs requiring problem solving and creativity, which enhances the brain resilience. Social engagement includes strong social networks that helps maintain cognitive functioning. Mental stimulation includes activities like reading, puzzles, and learning new skills, which boost reserve. Physical exercises like regular movement supports brain health and neuroplasticity. Healthy lifestyle like diet, sleep, and stress management contribute to cognitive resilience.
What is cognitive
Now,
reserve?
let us look at
We all
this
know people
video
who are
and
really
understand
resilient,
in depth
people who
what
keep on
cognitive
keeping on
reserve
no matter
is.
what life throws at them. Well, our brain has the capacity for resilience too, provided we give it a helping hand by living a brain healthy lifestyle. For example, when a disease like multiple sclerosis strikes, it attacks brain and spinal cord tissue, causing communication problems within the central nervous system that can lead to physical, visual, or cognitive impairments. We know that some people with multiple sclerosis can tolerate more disease pathology than others while still retaining cognitive function. Scientists believe that their resilience in the face of disease pathology is linked to certain life exposures. Here's how they think it works. The brain has an inbuilt but finite resource called neurological reserve. This reserve allows the brain to retain function by reorganising itself to compensate for brain atrophy and lesions. It reroutes communication pathways to avoid damaged areas and adapts undamaged areas to take on functions of areas affected by disease. This really is pretty fantastic, but unfortunately, it just can't keep pace with disease activity. Eventually, neurological reserve is exhausted and cognitive deficits become apparent. But that's not the end of the story. Neurological reserve has two components. Brain reserve, which refers to the size of the brain, and cognitive reserve, which is the ability to actively compensate and to make more effective and efficient use of brain networks. Our lifetime experiences can increase cognitive reserve and help to maintain brain reserves. This gives us a better chance to hang on to cognitive function if life throws us a curveball in the shape of a disease or injury. All other things being equal, people with multiple sclerosis with high cognitive reserve lose less cognitive function than those with less.
Now, this video talk about something really inspiring, the brain's capacity to stay strong even when facing diseases like multiple sclerosis. We all know people who seem mentally strong, right? No matter what happens, they bounce back. Well, the brain can do some things similar, but it needs our help. That help comes from living a brain healthy lifestyle, staying mentally active, socially engaged, physically fit, and emotionally balanced. Now, in diseases like multiple sclerosis, the body attacks its own nervous system, especially the brain and spinal cord. This leads to communication breakdowns in the central nervous system. So, people may experience problems with movement, vision, or even thinking clearly. But interestingly, not everyone is affected in the same way. Some people retain their thinking and memory skills longer than others, even with similar levels of brain damage. But why is that? It's because the brain's hidden resource, neurological resource. We are going to discuss shortly about the two parts of this reserve, brain and cognitive. Neurological reserve is said to be the brain's hidden resource. It is the brain's hidden ability to organize and adapt when it's under attack. It is similar to the backup system that kicks in when the main system gets damaged. There are two parts to the neurological reserve. The first one is brain reserve and the second one is cognitive reserve. Brain reserve. Think of this as the physical hardware of your brain. The size of your brain, number of neurons, and synaptic connections. A larger, more complex brain can sometimes tolerate more damage before it shows problems. The second cognitive reserve, this is the software part. It's how efficiently and flexibly your brain can adapt, reroute, and compensate. People with higher cognitive reserve can use alternative brain networks to solve problems when the usual networks are damaged. Now let us compare both cognitive and brain reserve. While cognitive reserve refers to adaptive capacity, brain reserve is more about physical brain attributes like brain size, number of neurons. Cognitive reserve is like software, while brain reserve is the hardware. The table I have shown you compares and contrasts cognitive and brain reserve related to brain's ability to adapt and cope with damage or disease. Let us discuss about the nature. The first row explains the nature of both concepts. Cognitive reserve is described as functional or adaptive, like software, implying that it relates to the brain's ability to adapt and function effectively. In contrast, brain reserve is characterized as structural or physical like hardware, suggesting that it pertains to the physical attributes of the brain. Next comes the definition. The second row provides definitions for both concepts. Cognitive reserve is defined as the brain's ability to efficiently adapt or compensate through flexible thinking, alternate strategies, or neural pathways. This highlights the brain's capacity to organize itself in response to challenges. Brain reserve is defined as the measurable physical characteristics of the brain, like volume, number of neurons, or synaptic density. This emphasizes the quantifiable aspects of brain structure. Third comes the example. The third row offers example to illustrate each concept. For cognitive reserve, the example given is Person solving problems using new strategies even after brain damage. This demonstrates how cognitive reserve enables individuals to adapt and find alternative solutions despite brain damage. For brain reserve, the example is person with a larger brain or more neurons may tolerate more damage before showing symptoms. This shows how a great brain reserve can provide a buffer against the effects of brain damage. Next comes the determinants. The fourth row discusses the determinants of each concept. Cognitive reserve is influenced by factors such as education, mental activity, lifestyle, problem solving skills. These elements contribute to building cognitive reserve by challenging the brain and promoting adaptability. Brain reserve, on the other hand, is determined by genetics, brain development, head size. These factors are largely beyond an individual's control and are related to the physical characters of the brain. Flexibility. The final row examines the flexibility of both concepts. Cognitive reserve is described as having high can change over time through experience. This indicates that cognitive reserve can be developed and improved through experience and practice. In contrast, brain reserve is characterized as having low, mostly fixed declines with age or disease. This suggests that brain reserve is relatively stable and can decline due to aging or disease. In summary, the table provides a clear comparison between cognitive reserve and brain reserve, highlighting their distinct natures, definitions, examples, determinants, and flexibility. While cognitive reserve is related to the brain's adaptive capacity, brain reserve pertains to its physical attributes. Understanding these concepts can provide valuable insights into the complex relationships between brain function, structure, and resilience. Now let us understand why cognitive reserve matters. A strong cognitive reserve can delay the onset of dementia symptoms. It helps individuals recover better from brain injuries. It improves resilience against stress and aging related cognitive decline. Education, mental stimulation, complex occupations, and social interactions. Example, two people with similar levels of brain damage from Alzheimer's may differ in symptoms. Those with higher cognitive reserve may show fewer impairments, and neuroscience insight is the brain imaging shows that individuals with higher cognitive reserve have more efficient or flexible neural networks. To summarize, cognitive engagement plays a crucial role in overall well being, particularly in fostering happiness through intellectual stimulation, personal autonomy, and long term mental resilience. Let's explore these connections in detail. Encourages lifelong learning and curiosity. Lifelong learning fuels a sense of purpose and excitement, which is closely linked to happiness. Engaging with new ideas and knowledge enhances cognitive flexibility and nurtures personal growth. Supports a sense of autonomy and mastery. Autonomy is the ability to make choices and direct one's learning, which enhances self determination and happiness. Real world impact. According to Deci and Ryan's self determination theory, autonomy and competence are key drivers of intrinsic motivation, leading to greater happiness. When individuals feel they are in control of their learning and capable of progress, their sense of self improvement brings long term emotional fulfillment. This reduces mental decline, boosting confidence. Cognitive engagement protects against neurodegenerative decline and maintains mental agility. Active learning strengthens neural connections, delaying cognitive aging, and enhances overall well being.